Hey, y'all. Welcome to the very first episode of the Back Office Podcast, where we talk real life, career, growth, love, and business. My name is Trinity, and I'm your host. And this is our first episode looking at fathers who dare to dream. This podcast and the vision I have for it really stemmed from travel and careers and life and decisions. Everybody has a story to tell. So on this podcast, we'll be bouncing city to city, hearing story to story that gives you inspiration to keep going forward. So for the very first episode of this podcast, I had to start at home. My hometown, Memphis, Tennessee, the best city in the land, with the people who really helped shape and mold me. Very special episode because not only was I born on Father's Day, but I also have two amazing fathers sitting with me. And those two people are my dad and my brother.
What's up?
Hi.
What's up?
Hey. I had to start here. This is home. This is like me at my core, like who I am. As I said, it was inspired by my birthday because I was born on Father's Day. But it also had me thinking about the pivotal role that fathers play in our lives. And I thought about, wow, as much as a father, you spend time, pouring into your kids, like trying to make sure their dreams happen. But like, what about your dreams? How does a father manage his life and his dreams? And I'm thinking about all the dedication that my dad and my brother, are putting into their families. And I wanted to capture a snapshot of that for the world to see and to give a new voice. And so this episode is titled The Fathers Who Dare to Dream. I briefly want y'all to introduce yourselves and we'll get started.
I'm Dr. Bruce Randolph, also known as Dr. Bruce, the Total Wellness Doctor. Practice for over 40 years, in which my practice is focused in preventive medicine, public health, and occupational health.
I am not a doctor, even though I think at sometimes maybe I should have been a doctor or an attorney. I'm Khari Randolph. I'm the director of vendor management at a university on the East Coast, and I'm Trinity's big brother.
That's the best title of all, Dad and Big Brother. Okay, so let's get started. Let's jump right in. So what does being a father mean to you personally?
A father to me means being obviously the cliche role model, right? But being really an example, but more importantly, being a leader and a provider. That's what being a father means.
For me, being a father means being blessed, married with my wife and kids, and we're going shopping on Fridays. So I predicted when I was in high school that I would be married by age 21 and have my first child by 25.
So you were ready to be a husband. Okay, let's just jump to the main question. Do men know? Or is that something you evolve into?
Being married for 15 years, I think you do not sign up for marriage not anticipating that fatherhood is somewhere in the picture. At least at one point in time. I don't know about the new YN generation, but
What was your first thought when you got the news that you were about to be a dad?
I mean, it really wasn't even a first thought because I planned it. Like I knew the moment.
He knew the moment the deed was done.
Literally.
He knew what he did.
No, literally, like down to the actual day, night. Seriously.
You knew what you did. He planned it.
Seriously, because
it's very intentional.
I mean, I knew when all three of you all were conceived.
I didn't need to know that.
I'm just saying.
Y'all heard that, ladies? If he tells you it was an accident, he's lying. He's lying.
It shouldn't be no accident. I mean, it should be intentional.
Yeah.
So you should want to be a father, right? Yeah. You should want to marry.
I think you got to be in that situation. And you have to have the prerequisites in your life to have put you into that situation, right? By the graces of God, there's some cabin experiences. The house that we called across from Stillman College in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Shout out to my boys T and J. Is the typical frat house. But
wow.
I'm just saying it this is the good old days before the whole Me Too movement. And so Lord. I'm just saying.
Before camera phones.
It could have easily been the other way for me.
You have to be peculiar where you put your penis.
Easier said than done.
Easier said than done is wild.
I mean, you do.
I mean,
you
it
have
happens,
to be,
though. It happens.
It is.
It happens. One of the most important decisions you make is who you decide to lay down with and have sex.
Yeah.
Now, you are connected forever, really, as long as the child is alive, right?
Yeah.
Not
and having that intentionality in mind, having that responsibility in mind, and part of it is discipline. How would you say, knowing all that, how did becoming a father, like, alter your life's purpose? Did it impact your life's purpose, or how you view,
most definitely.
You view it?
In the doctor's office, about to receive the information, whether it's a girl or boy, right? Mm-hmm. And I had a prayer with God where I was like, hey, God, if it is a boy, I'll shave my head bald, right? And I was thinking like it was a sacrifice, like Samson, Delilah, like I got to shave my head to have a son. And I just knew I was having a boy. And then when she said a girl, it really just changed my whole thinking, because I was like, wait a minute, I wasn't prepared for her to say. And then instantly I was like, well, this could be cool because I got a younger sister. So I kind of know what that's like. Having two daughters has impacted how I view life, even down to the career, because I work with a lot of Title IX and so women's sports.
I feel like, Dad, you have an interesting perspective of that in a similar way too, Khari, because you had two boys and then you had me. So as a Black man, how does that shift your view?
Well, I think is that now my interests, my desires become secondary. Fathers and daughters have special relationships.
Yeah, most definitely.
For those boys, they're going to go off and marry and be gone. That daughter is the one who's more likely going to be there, right?
I'm going to jump in right there because that's a great segue to like the next part of the conversation I want to move to. You're just saying, as a father, I'm putting my dreams on the back burner. And in a sense, like you still, of course, you have to be ambitious. You have to go make money. You have to provide, right? But in the grand scheme of things, when it's choosing between the two, now your kids come first. But what real advice, like let's have a real conversation. As two professional, degreed, well-established Black men, like to continue to scale in your career while you build a family, I think for my generation, by the way, y'all, I don't have kids yet, pending on that. I need a husband first. A lot of the conversation I'm hearing, they don't know if they can manage it all. That's a lot of responsibility. So if I'm a young man, mid to late 20s, like I want to start a family, like I'm working in my career, like getting the confidence to feel like I can manage all this. Like, can we have a quick real discussion about that? Any advice? Or just, even if it's not advice, like how did you feel? Feeling like you had to manage so much?
Well, for me, I never felt that it was completely all on me. Mm-hmm. That's why you have to have a partner. There are some specific choices I made career-wise. Like, for example, I'm a physician, but I knew I wasn't going to go into surgery. Mm-hmm. Right? I chose not to go into surgery because I didn't want to be away from my family 5, 6, 7 days out the week.
Yeah.
In the hospital.
Yeah.
So there were some choices like that I had to make, even some business choices that I made that pretty much was a sacrifice, perhaps financially, but being available for my boys and for my daughters was important to me. One thing I would want to tell young fathers, your children need more than stuff, right? Mm-hmm. They need your presence. Mm-hmm. They need you to be there. They need to be involved. Not just for sons, daughters too. Evidence have shown that daughters need their daddies just as much as their sons.
This is like a very unique setup because this is a generational gap here. So it's like I really wanted to have two fathers like in two different generations, right? Because, with evolution, it's always developing. So the way that my dad fathered us is not the way my brother is fathering his daughter. So I'm going to shift the same question over to Khari. Feeling like I have to carry so much. I want this. It's an honor, but it's a lot.
I think you need to keep your mind on the eye on the prize, which is like your career.
Okay.
Because I hear what my dad is saying, but when me and Ebony met, we both were in college. We were like that super senior, right? We both were like soul searching for what our careers were going to be. I mean, I was in political science, working in politics, but you don't really need a degree for that. Ebony is the same, working in education. Everyone works in education, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I chose the path of follow me, right?
Okay.
And that's a partnership. But
explain the path of follow me so people can like understand what you
what I mean by that is like, hey, I have this great opportunity to work for this oil and gas company in Enid, Oklahoma as a landman. And do you have something that's paying more than this? Okay, since you don't,
we pack up the stuff. We're gone.
You have to pack up your stuff and come with me.
Yeah.
And we were just fortunate that it all worked out. Now, it was horrible for her because she being an educated Black woman, a Delta, being in Enid, Oklahoma, being married one day, honeymoon, coming back from Jamaica. Now you got to go to Enid, Oklahoma for the first time.
Talk about sacrifice.
And sacrifice put us on this path of, okay, to Dad's point, you have to marry the right person. My type of attitude and vision for just my life, my wife was willing to just jump on that bandwagon and support me.
A big part of this podcast is meeting people in their careers and like how they continue to grow and whatever their career path is. And when I say career, it can be hobby, talent. You're making these moves to continue to up the ranks, right? So it's like, how are you managing that?
The best professional advice that someone had given me one time in sales, which is a very up and down, ebbs and flow type of career path for professionals, is every 3 years, give yourself a re-examination and re-evaluation of where you are in your career.
Give yourself that.
Give yourself that, yeah. And ask yourself, 3 years, can I move up, right? And not necessarily in a monetary perspective, but just can I get more responsibility? Can I get a different title? At some point, you do that until you get to a level of like, you know what? I'm content. I have enough responsibility. I have enough members on my team. I'm making enough money. It's satisfying. Because then you start to think more like my father's mentality of, hey, if I take on more responsibility, I won't be able to have those moments to go to tennis tournaments, to spend on the weekends, right? Not having to answer to my cell phone or computer or be traveling.
My motivation in terms of business, profession has been to be self-employed. And being my own boss allowed me to be able to be with my children.
That's true.
So that was the motivation.
So that was the motivation for me. But as a result of that, I made less money, but I was my own boss. This was my business that I started. So then I'm able to hire my kids when they got up. My nephews and my other relatives and other people, right? But it was at a price though. And that's the thing, is that each person have to examine their own heart and themselves and determine what's important to you.
Yeah.
And for me, that freedom, that independence, and being able to make those choices, even though, again, I could have made way more money working for someone else.
I have a bounce back question off of that, because some people say when you leave a 9 to 5, you start working a 25/8.
Well,
so,
and what I was also going to say is, I think
you
have to make that call based on what is required of your life. People try to make extreme changes at the wrong time in their lives.
Right.
And we all want to do that. Like, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to get in shape today. And I'm going to, right? So it's easy to say and do that. But I think when it comes to being a father, to your point, it's more than just your selfish thoughts and consequences, right? It's about, what am I going to do in my professional career that's not only going to impact me, right, but also the people that's dependent upon me.
We're talking about taking leaps of faith. We're talking about timing and alignment and sacrifice. What role has faith played in both of you, like lives, especially in relation to fatherhood, marriage, all of that?
For me, faith has been the anchor, the thing. So I, grew up in a house where faith was important. I mean, you grew up, you went to church, you went to school, you played sports, and you worked in the fields during the summer.
What about for the people who didn't grow up like that, though?
Right. And so my thing is you need some anchors of faith, whether you're Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Buddha, or something.
Whatever you pray to.
Something you got to rely on that's greater than yourself, because you don't know all the answers. You're going to have to rely, on something greater than yourself.
Yeah, but I think that's transformed differently now. Ever since COVID, people really haven't. And it's funny because I grew up, just like Dad said, minus the picking the cotton.
We weren't in the fields.
Minus that part. But being at church every day, right?
Yeah.
All of my first girlfriends were at church, right?
Oh,
church
yeah,
was like amazing.
Your friends are your first friends.
Especially being at church. Let's get on like church here in Memphis. That means something.
Yeah.
Like back in the early
AME church
90s, like
Shout
it
out
was
to St.
about
Andrew AME church.
Whose church had kind of like the youth crowd, and we would go and pull up on dudes. It was like church was almost like gangs, almost like it was
not church gangs.
Because then you had the basketball and the step shows.
Oh yeah, you was part
of. So
there
was a lot of like extracurricular activities that went on inside of church, and that kind of built who you were. Now fast forward to and those are all the great things and perks. Fast forward to where we are now, right? My kids, I want that. I long for that desire to put them in that type of church environment. But for one, it's hard to find. I hate
Why do you think it's different though? Why is it different?
Because I think people are more isolated than once they were. And who can blame them, right? I mean,
we've been through a lot.
Folks are crazy, right? Yeah. So to faith, bring it home. We pray at home. We pray before we leave. I let my kids know that, hey, we don't control any of this, right? That there's a higher being that operates this. But I think we have to do that starting in our homes more than going to a church.
Well, now there's a difference in church and faith.
No. But where you identify and find faith at though? Because you said, go and spend time at church.
Yeah.
Well, no,
and Trinity said, well, what about those that don't grow up like that?
Right. My main question was about faith and fatherhood and how those two things correlate for y'all.
Right. And I think that the father should be the faith leader. So you always talk about the man is the head of the household and all that, right? But that should be first spiritually, the head of the household. So hopefully you all saw God through the way I lived.
Yeah.
Right? And the way that I treated your mother and other folk.
Yeah.
And so you use the principles of your faith to guide your behavior and how you live.
I saw this thing online and it kind of had me thinking, like, we always hear these conversations online. The new conversation is, I need a woman who can submit. Can she submit? Or should I submit to a man? And it's like the idea of submission within itself, to me, starts with God, right? So if you're coming from the perspective of a man, to me, if I'm dating somebody and you can't even submit to God, I'm not submitting to you. You have to have that foundation, like, for yourself first. You know what I'm saying? Like you just said, God is first. So we should all be submitting to God. And then, I will submit to my husband. Like the other things come after that.
But I want to push back, though, on what you said earlier about, before we get on to the submission, because I see where that's headed. I don't know if the man has to be the spirit, and I want to make sure I understand what you're saying about the man being the spiritual leader in the household. I mean, that's what you did, and I would agree to that. But I don't think that has to be the case for every household.
I don't think it has to be the case for every household, but I think it needs to be present.
The children need to see God through you.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a situation where, and oftentimes this is the case, the mother gets up, kids come on and make sure you go to church, and dad is still home in bed. It's the mother who usually teach the children about saying your prayers and what have you. And I'm saying that daddies, your children need to see you worshiping, praising. Some young men, when they start getting adolescence or whatever, begin to think that it's not cool for men to worship and praise.
I just feel, I think there's so many other ways to praise God other than the
Absolutely.
whole go to church.
It's not
thing.
about going. It's, no, I haven't mentioned going to church one time. It's nothing to do with physically going to church.
I don't want my young brothers who see this to feel as if, man, listen, if you got to go to work on Sunday, you got to go work on Sunday.
Yeah.
And if she's fortunate enough to take the kids to church, and she takes the kids to church, there's such a cliche surrounding between, like you just said, the woman takes the kids to church, and the father stays at home. What is he doing at home? I mean,
watching the NFL.
I'm going to be the middle person in the situation, like womanly perspective. All I'm saying is, even if you do work on Sunday because you're providing for our family, at the end of the day, my kids also need to, when we are at dinner and other situations around our home, they need to know that God is the first in your life. Exactly. You need to practice that for your children.
No, that.
And for your wife. You lead in that way. So like your wife might be more religious, quote unquote, than you, but I just feel like you should be present.
That's more of how you treat people in your interaction and your day-to-day transactions with folks, right? Which, unless you're a priest, that typically doesn't happen mostly in church, right? If you're only good on Sunday, and then you treat people terrible on Monday and Tuesday. So I think that, and your daughters feed off of that, right? Your children feed off of that. They see your interactions. They see how this daddy, stick a bag of Skittles in his pocket and steal it, or does he be kind and open up the door or grab a cart for an elderly woman, right? All of those things to me are how you demonstrate like your faith in God.
The principles of faith is it provides you with some guidance.
Right.
Moral, ethical, whatever, right? Spiritual. But it's not going to church. There's a lot of ungodly folk who go to church.
Yeah.
There's a lot of folk who go to church, sing hallelujah, praise the Lord, like and shout all over the place and come home and beat their wives or mistreat their children. Your faith is demonstrated. It should be manifest by your behavior. I should flip it the other way. I say your behavior is dictated by what you believe.
Okay. Yeah. So on this conversation of faith and finding yourself, I do believe in mentorship as well, right? So we have God that guides us, but also there are people in our lives that can bring out a lot of things, right? So maybe I didn't grow up with a dad who was super religious, but I have a mentor who really has poured into me and helped me find God. So how important is mentorship, particularly from the lens, like the Black male perspective? Like how important, and second question, how important is it? But also, like, how do you do it? How do you offer it and receive it?
You got to be a little strategic when you're offering, right? And finding the organic opportunities when someone is really naturally in help or need of help, but then also in a point of being able to receive it. And then not just really kind of shooting it straight to individuals, right? You see so many young brothers that have potential. You want to, but like, do you really have time to invest? Are you going to follow up on what you say? Because he's probably going to hit you up. He's probably going to send you that email. And I see a lot of times we all think that being a mentor is like, this starts off great. And then so many people get frustrated because it's like, man, I ain't even heard from this guy in a long time. So following up, I think, is one of the things that you should focus on if you're going to, and be genuine with your follow-up. And then also vice versa when trying to seek that guidance, being strategic in who you're asking and what you're asking of a person.
Because you can have a toxic mentor now. Be careful.
Be careful.
Tread lightly.
Most definitely.
Okay. Yeah.
Read the room. See if this is a person that's really in the position to receive a mentee, and then be strategic in how you approach that person. I'm in a fraternity. Shout out to the Noops, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, the greatest frat ever made. And so being around all kind of individuals through that association for over 20 years is
that was like automatic mentorship.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's such
it goes without being said, for sure.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
What about you, Dad?
Well, I think that we have to first understand that in some form or fashion, we're all mentors, right? Because you are a role model. Somebody's watching.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah. This is one of the things I tell the brothers that first start your mentoring by practicing what you preach. So letting folks see you doing what you profess ought to be doing, just in your action. I think everyone has a role. Everyone should be a mentor. Everybody should have a mentor. Certainly, I wouldn't be where I am had I not had mentors in my life.
How do you all take care of yourself as a father? Khari, I know you're big into exercise. Dad, you have your rituals. Like, why is that important and what do you do and what advice? Because I have this thing, I was talking to Dad before we came on this podcast and I was like, it was a general statement, but I was like, men don't have hobbies, like, which is not true. But I think that's like the narrative or just like the stereotype is that like men will literally just go to work, come home, eat, turn on TV and like maybe go play basketball, but like just dedicating themselves to a hobby or something outside of just making money for the house, which I think is important. Y'all should not be restricted to just go to work, make money, provide. Like you need to have a well-rounded life. So let's talk about that.
I mean, to each their own. That's why I tell fellas, like my dad said, and I think that's the overall arching message is choose wisely. So like looking for a house, that was one of the prerequisites. I had to have a man cave. I knew it eventually turned into my office, but it started off as a great man cave and it's my sanctuary. It is my place where I can have friends over, watch the game, entertain folks. And so I think having a wife that gives you that space is very crucial. And she needs her, I don't know what's the women equivalent.
We have she sheds.
Okay, there you go. She sheds. She needs that as well. That balance. But having a hobby to get away and enjoy is something that I'm all about. Whether that's hanging out with your guys. Me personally, I like riding horses. But yeah, having a hobby and having some time to contribute to the hobby is important. You have to have that.
Well, for me, I'm a big proponent of total wellness, well-being of spirit, mind, and body. And so I would encourage everyone to go to ROMS Total Wellness, ROMS totalwellness.com, and you will see on it the things I do. So I'm not just preaching to my patients, but the things I do in terms of meditation, in terms of exercise. I encourage certainly men to do it, right? But women, all people can do it. But it's a combination of healthy eating, stress management, meditation, prayer, stretching, walking, exercising, lifting weights if you want to. But you do have to find some physical activity. If you ask me, Doc, what's the number one thing that I should do? It's exercise. Keep moving. When you look at people who live long, they have
active lives.
Keep moving. You have to keep moving.
I mean, I think, saying hobbies, right? And talk about guys don't have hobbies. I look at it complete opposite. I look at real men, there's like a checklist. If you don't have these
the real man checklist?
If you don't have these things,
what is the real man checklist? Please, so I can.
Now, this is mine. This is mine.
So I can know.
So, having a wife that's attractive to you, that's rule number one. Because how you gonna stay faithful to someone that you don't find attractive to? I never know.
She got to be fine.
You got to be willing to be faithful.
Okay, this is his checklist.
This is my list.
She got to be fine.
She has to be attractive to you because the key to a happy marriage is staying sexually active with each other. If you're not, they're going to get it from somewhere else. So that's rule number one. 2, keeping yourself presentable for your wife. Like, I work out because I got 2 daughters, but then also I want to keep myself tight for my wife. I don't want her, as we go on trips, looking at other guys, I want her to know she got a king right here. So I got to keep the body conditioned in a way, in a manner, Plus, it's going to help out with all the other stuff. You don't have to get on those other crazy pills that they promoting. That's number 2. So having a bad wife, keeping yourself tight, which is your physical activities. Every real man got to have a nice car. You know, when you're taking your wife out, y'all going on dates, you got to have a nice vehicle. Now, what that looks like, old school, I think real men should have trucks. But, you know, Mercedes, Corvette, whatever you like, having a nice vehicle to take date nights out on. Having a wardrobe and keeping the hygiene on point is key. I mean, you got to most definitely make sure you got your colognes on deck. You got your, whatever your style is. You can be more relaxed. You can do the whole, you know, whatever your style is, suits, cowboy boots, whatever it is, you just have to look presentable and nice to not embarrass your spouse who you with. And then last but not least, you have to have some type of physical background, just in case that combat moment and your manhood is tested. So whether that means you know how to handle firearms, you used to be a former football player, you're into martial arts. At the end of the day, we're protectors. So all that nice stuff that I listed before goes out the window if you don't have that physical combat mode, at least. Just ready to just hit it at any switch. Because, you know, as you're out with your wife, you may not know, especially right around here in Memphis, what may be happening. So
you might have to grab the
can't freeze up. But yeah, that's the 5-man checklist that every dude should have. So ladies, keep that. If the guys are slipping in one of them areas, you know, you might want to have a little chop with them. You know,
girl,
I'm just saying.
I agree with that. He literally just told y'all to go get a blicky. I don't know if that's what y'all heard, but that's what I heard. Well, that's so great. Okay, we're going to keep transitioning this. We only have a little bit of time left. Let's talk about community real quick. How have you built a community, right? Outside of just your family, how do you build a community to support you in fatherhood? It's kind of like piggybacking off of mentorship, but like how do you build a community? And is that important?
Well, it is because it takes a village. And so one of the problems that we are encountering consequent of the COVID pandemic is some isolationism. It takes a village.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't be with your kids 24/7.
Oh, first of all, people don't know their kids.
Right.
I was in education, and I used to tell parents, like, you don't know your child.
Exactly.
I know your child.
Right.
That's true.
Exactly.
You're only with your kid this amount of time.
And what we find is that you really only have about 6 years to make your greatest impact on your kids. From day birth 1 to about age 6. After that, other influences begin to impact their thinking. And then when they get about 12 or 13,
you are who you are.
They almost got and see the world, you know. I realized that dealing with you all.
Yeah.
Right.
We've been you
so
shape and shift, but your core personality is who you are.
Right. So therefore, then you have to make sure that your kids are in environments that promote similar values that you promote.
I'm going to remix the question for you because, like I said, you're relating from a whole nother generation. We have technology. We have TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And so it's different for you now. So how are you and Ebony navigating that from a millennial perspective, like with all of the social media and everything going on?
Man, I think my approach is different than my father's because they say don't be friends with your kids, right? Yeah. But I'm a lot more transparent with my kids than I think my father was with us. Just in the fact of showing them what life is really like and then experiencing it together. For example, my kids are in a high demanding tennis, right? They're both tennis stars. And so when they're on that tennis court, I let them rule themselves. So if they want to say a baby profanity word, I'm not tripping off that. They giving their blood, sweat, and tears for, for the glory of a trophy. So they want to say, damn it, then they can say, damn it. I'm not tripping off that. Or even shit. I'm not even tripping off that either. And just the fact of, hey, the reality is sports breeds competition. And so I want them to know the rules of competing with kids. I'm way more relaxed. I'm way more rewarding in the fact of, hey, you do something good. I want to get you material things. Now, it may backfire. I don't know. We're going to see.
I feel bad for anybody that dates these girls.
We're going to see. It may backfire on me.
They've been eating lobster pasta since they were 5. Okay.
My hopes is that just have an open bond relationship with me and their mom. We always tell each other, like, we're all we got. And hopefully that works. We'll see.
So let's talk about vulnerability real quick. How are you vulnerable as a dad? Because I feel like that is so hard, especially when you have daughters. You don't want, you're their first like idea of like what manhood looks like, right? And they say when girls grow up, they date their dads in the sense of like, that is what I'm seeking, those qualities and stuff. But you're not perfect. You're human. Taking that like element out of it, how do you remain vulnerable as a dad with your kids and also with like, you need help? You know, like, how do you do that?
My daughters hold a mirror up to me every day. And it's crazy because the interaction with their mom, interaction with how I handle and crisis manage their arguments. I'm thinking about what you just said, right? Like, this is going to set the foundation for the type of man that they're involved with. Interesting to hear my dad's side because he had boys. And I think with boys, you have to set a different type of example than you do with girls.
Let me ask you, do you think I treated you differently than them?
Not differently, but I will say I felt more protected in the sense of like sheltered, I guess it would say. I feel like Kobe and Khari were like, the stuff that they were doing at their age, I was not doing at my age. And I think some of that is because I'm a young lady. Like, I'm not like
that. And then some of it we learned off of them.
Maybe that's the case. But I'm just saying, I feel like
you may have because
I have the perfect thing. When we were in Jamaica, I was probably like, 5 years old. It's this big cliff.
Jesus Christ.
We're in Jamaica. It's this big ass cliff. And my brothers are like 8 and how were you? No, you were probably like 12.
Something like that.
Little kids. My parents let them go and like jump off the cliff and it goes straight into the water. Huge cliff. No problem. Go do it. If I were their age at the same time trying to do that same thing, it would have been like, sit down. You're not doing you're not jumping off the cliff.
That was crazy on our part.
No, not really. To me, I look at it differently. I look at it from a way different lens. I think that they poured into you way more than what they poured into us.
That is wild.
We were like, I mean, and I think that's just natural. That's a progression of being a parent, right? You don't know the environment or the situation that your kid is going through and even how you're going to give them parental guidance in that moment versus when you have a third one. Because that's a huge age gap between us. I don't even know what.
12.
12 years. And so, by the time you get to moving around, I'm pretty much going to college.
Yeah.
And so,
I have an opinion about that. I think for me, it's also the environment of like, I'm raising a daughter and just being honest, it's some things that could happen to her and some life choices that she, like, sports is also like, I'm going to have something in her life to keep her grounded.
Yeah.
If I were to be a teen pregnancy, like that would change my whole life. Not saying if you didn't become a teen dad, it wouldn't change yours. It would. But I think it was just more of that awareness of like, okay, we have to kind of be on her. Yeah, it put me on the path. And it kept me it was something to keep me focused versus like all my friends running around with boys and doing all these other things. Like I had tennis. That's I'm going to practice.
No, that's
I think that's more of what it was. And which is why I feel like I was more like I didn't get to kick it. I was
and I think tennis, I think you can't. I think you can't be on the same path. I think that there's paths for both genders. I'm sorry, it is. And so no, to that point, when I found out I was having 2 girls, there was no question that they were going to be in sports.
Yeah,
because I think sports teaches girls lessons that they just need to know.
So. You feel that we poured more into Trinity sport-wise than we did?
Oh, without a question.
I think he's saying not a pour, but investment, like as far as tennis and like.
Yeah. Back then, there wasn't like AAU wasn't a real thing back then. There was more like community-based, hey, you play on this, and more town-based, right? Like you play on this Pop Warner team and then you go and play for the 8th grade middle school the pouring in requirements back then for football was you taking a football practice, like, right? But nowadays, that has changed and evolved so much to where, you know, you do have the personal trainers and you do have the out of season workouts. And if your kid isn't doing that, then they're not, you know, really competing with the other kids that's just doing it for more leisure.
One, and this is something I would tell young parents, there's no manual.
No, it's
There's
not.
no manual.
Right?
I don't have kids yet. I know
so
there's like this. You're never going to be
you
really
learn,
ready.
you're going to make some mistakes. But also you have to keep in mind that we were at a different stage career-wise when you were born.
Correct.
Than when Trinity was. And that's something I regret, really, is that we moved a lot.
Yeah.
That is true.
Right?
Khari moved to a lot
part
of
of that
cities.
is because of career.
Yeah. Which is why I say, going back to your original point, you have to focus on getting the bag, because if you don't, those decisions impact your kids while you're in that chase, right? That still has that impact on your kids for whatever.
But that's the balance. But that's the balance, though. So do you continue to chase the bag and your kids suffer in some form?
I think the big theme is that it's where you are in your life at different times.
That's right.
Like, we wrap this conversation up. It really brings us full circle to, like, and when you're going through your career, what you do impacts your kids.
Yes.
At the time, mom and dad were moving around a lot. They're progressing in their careers, which caused them to move city to city, but that had an effect on you.
Most definitely. That's what.
Versus
that's
when
my whole
I came,
point.
I was in one city.
So I mean, like I said, you can in your mind think that, oh, I'm, you know, handling this one way, but the impact of that is still going to, you know, be directly upon that kid and what they're going through, and that's going to have a long-term effect, right? I mean, the way that I see the world now, the way I handle situations still comes from that.
Yeah. And it's also coming out how you poured an Nia, right? Because now you're very, 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 very instrumental in their development with tennis. So that's the beauty of it, right? It's like you experience things like, you know, your parents, you're doing the best you can. You're doing the best you can. Dad did the best he could. And you just take from that and you just have to, like, keep going.
Like I said, I think, like you said, you have to keep going. But to Dad's point, it's not a manual. It's not. Being a parent, you're learning more about yourself than you are teaching someone else how to be an adult, or teaching someone else how to be a successful human being. Having a good partner is most definitely crucial. I couldn't imagine being a single parent. Shout out to those that do that. But I think in the best scenario for best balance, like my dad was saying, is choosing the right one. Will make your life easier.
So I'm going to wrap this up. I want y'all to quickly look in the camera and tell me something that you would tell your younger self if you could. So young Bruce and young Khari, you're talking to your younger self. What would you say?
I would say to a younger Bruce, don't move as much. You can stay stable, right, in a location where your children from kindergarten up can establish some relationships and what have you, and not have to recreate those every 2 years or what have you. There's a psychiatrist, Dr. Francis Welson, who recommends that Black men should not marry till they're about 30, and they should not have a child till they're about 35. Because in between all of that, is they need to get their education, training,
developmental
career development, what have you.
Especially because we start so far behind. Just by being Black and men, like you're already.
And that's what I mean by when I was saying chasing the bag. I was definitely not saying that as being married. I was talking about get yourself established.
Yeah, you know, I got married at 20.
We didn't even get to that part. That's going to be a part 2, talking about the young marriages. Right? Yeah. You beat the odds. You know, you beat the statistic. You beat the odds. They say if you get married before like 28, it's done. So
you know.
So y'all had Khari. What age? How are you? Y'all had Khari?
25 in medical school.
Right. I mean, 25 was crazy young.
Khari was 1 year old. He was I'm holding him at my graduation in medical school. Raising him, now I'm still doing a residency. I'm still going through my training. So that's why a lot of the moving was because of that. And it's that, I was probably definitely not married 20 and 21.
Don't tell my mama that. She gonna watch this podcast.
No, she and I both agreed that, that was, looking back on it, it was crazy. But
right partner, though.
Right partner.
Yeah.
We loved each other. And also, we still allowed each other to grow.
All right, talk to your younger self before we get out of here.
Man, I've been sitting here really trying to figure out what would I tell my younger self. And everything is going to be cool. Everything is going to work out pretty much how you want it to. And God is going to bless you for some wonderful life experiences along the way. Don't stress. Relax. Take it easy. You're really not in control of this situation. You're just extremely blessed and fortunate. You're on this awesome ride that God is going to grant you. Don't worry about the decisions or the shortcomings or falls that you may experience. It's going to turn out exactly the way that it's supposed to be, and it's going to be good. It's going to be real good.
Well, thank you. This was such an amazing conversation. This was so good. Was awesome. Everyone, thank y'all for tuning in. If you're a dad, soon to be one, or even if you're healing from a dad, know that it's a very layered and powerful journey. Fatherhood is beautiful, it's necessary, and it's forever evolving. And that's why we need conversations like these to continue to grow, provide online mentorship. So thank y'all for joining us.
Love you, sis.
We will be coming to a city near you with a brand new perspective and story to share. Make sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram and YouTube. And until then, please remember, all of the work is done in the back office. See y'all next time.
Hey, you got to keep that blooper. That's going to be hilarious.
Oh, yeah. You can catch us on Instagram at Work with Trinity.